Okay. Hi, guys, class members. We did our project on Russia and the United States comparing a military conscription. This project was done by myself, Megan Bonine, Samantha, Shelby, and Carlos. For our paper, we comparatively analyzed military policy and conscription between Russia and the United States. We looked at each country's history, rationale for conscription, public opinion, history, military spending, and activity.
Hello, everybody. My task was to analyze a brief overview of military conscription and military policy. So to begin with, first we need to analyze both the United States and Russia. Basically, their policies were very controversial and very heavily funded for both countries. These two countries came to be well respected and feared superpowers. Military powers with great gravity to destroy the world. Along with the military policy, conscription in the United States and Russia has to be taken into consideration. Some aspects of judgment differ in their execution of actions. To briefly uncover the surface of the United States military policy, overall the power and actions have gradually increased over the decades, as well as participation in wars. Gradually, the United States military policy has strengthened and stabilized to become a well-recognized presence in international affairs. The military defines war as a threat to maintain national defense and interests. At the peak of military power in the 60s during the Cold War, an arms race with Russia became costly to the military for the stability they were generating. The United States soon realized the weapon's serious magnitude came to be a heavy burden among citizens. The United States serves as an obligation to the public to have a secure and intelligent means of defense. It can be seen through the times of war, the United States needed conscription to be a strong nation. Opposition towards the proposal of an all-volunteer draft was refuted due to the acceptance that the nation would remain strong. It came to an end during the Nixon administration in 1968 in the midst of Cold War. Conscription was discontinued. Today in the United States, there is no mandatory conscription, although there have been a few mentions to bring it back.
Okay, now we're going to be looking more in depth at military conscription, specifically criteria and rationale. Kind of going off what Carlos was saying, these two countries have a long history of military conscription. For the U.S., it's a little different because we ended military conscription in 1973. So any rationale or criteria is mostly looked at in a historical context. For Russia, conscription is biannual. It's men ages 18 to 27 that are required to serve for 12 months or 1 year. This has been changed around. It used to be 18 months, and even before that, they had a requirement of 2 years to serve in the military. In the U.S., men have the obligation to, once they turn 18, to register with selective service. Women are not required to do this, and if you are not registered with a selective service, you can get up to a $250,000 fine or 5 years in jail. If there weren't enough volunteers in a time of conflict in the U.S., the draft may be reinstated. Shifting back to Russia's conscription, any evasion fines are 2 years in jail or even 7 years imprisonment for desertion. Unfortunately, this penalty doesn't really deter a high percentage of men in Russia from doing anything to evade the draft. It's become a national pastime. And so you're seeing a lot of drastic differences between the U.S. Military conscription and Russia. These conditions in the Russian military, as well as U.S. involvement in wars, directly affect the public opinion of the military as a whole, as well as foreign policy. And And that's what Samantha's going to be talking about. She is next, and we're going to look a little bit more in depth at public opinion.
Okay, so I'll be discussing public opinion towards mandatory conscription. As Megan and Carlos emphasized, policies in both countries vary drastically, and that creates different opinions in each country towards conscription. First, I'll start out with Russia. Russia, as Megan said, there's hazing and brutality that occurs in the military, and that creates a public opinion of hate towards conscription. Not surprisingly, opinion polls show the public opposition to the draft, especially when the people taking the survey had people that were relatives already in the military. In the United States, there's no draft currently instated, but there is a strong sense of nationalism, and it's not held in such high disdain. A poll taken in October 2004, though, resulted in finding that 29% of young adults would resist the draft, though. The issue of men registering with the selective services meets some controversy because they feel that women should have to enroll as well. A similarity in both nations regarding public opinion is that citizens feel that being able to be a conscript in the military comes with a strong sense of nationalism and duty to the country. Both countries hold that sentiment, probably more strongly in the United States than in Russia, but it is there. Both nations also have traditionalists that feel that it's a fundamental representation of one's loyalty to their nation. Even if a citizen doesn't agree with the cause or fighting in general, they're required to put their lives on the line, and both nations have different public opinions about that. Next, we'll be discussing military action and spending, and Shelby will be doing that.
All right. Even though there isn't much support for military in both countries, it is still a large part of both their economies. After the Cold War, they go on different paths with how they spend and everything. In 1988, military spending was a huge part of the Soviet Union's economy. It was a line item totaling about $33 billion US. However, it was believed that there's actually a lot more than that, and they weren't adding in totals for weapons and such. Their spending didn't slow down until after the Cold War. Prior to the Cold War, the then Soviet Union put an extensive amount of money into retaining their superpower status. Today, Russia is stuck trying to regain that superpower status and trying to build back its military and regain its respect. The United States makes up for nearly half the world's spending when comparing the top 10 countries. It didn't used to always spend so much, but after World War I, when it came out as the only country to make a profit, it found that it became the big brother of other countries and protecting others when they needed it, and had to spend lots more on wars that they were going into. September 11th led to even more spending in America on wars due to the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. The United States' spending activity has brought it to many costly wars, but has also gained the respect from many countries.
Okay, so in conclusion, Russia and the United States policies on conscription, they do vary, obviously, and through all these factors, it's seen that Russia's taken one road and the United States has gone the other way. Russia's military is still struggling, and there's a lot of conflict and issues that still need to be worked out. On the other hand, the United States is obviously doing significantly well and has made a lot of progress in developing their military to be one of the world's superpowers. We hope this presentation educated you on Russia and the United States conscription policies. Thank you.